Hello, world of YouTube, and welcome to another episode of AVA, the Album versus Album podcast, where by myself or with a guest, we try to discuss which album fits under a niche umbrella best. And this week, I finally have a guest. I'm not just gonna sit here and talk at 3 in the morning about two records.
You did it!
Yeah!
You have
Yeah,
friends!
we did it!
You have friends!
I have friends! Yes! I feel accomplished.
Take that,
And
internet!
yeah, longtime supporters of the channel may remember a little time, a couple years back, I was on a podcast called Mad Sounds, and it was a direct inspiration to the listening log update videos that I've done, and this guy is just a longtime collaborator of the channel. We've been buds for a hot minute, and it felt ceremonious to bring him on as my first guest. I'm talking about, you know him as the fully involved boy. Talking about Mark Berman.
That's what's up. Thank you very much. Also, thanks for... It's funny, whenever I've been introduced on some stuff in the last couple years, I've been said, from the Mad Sounds podcast, and I was like, about that. It's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I guess fully involved has been the main thing. I know that I'm not like a proper co-host of this or anything. I do want to give one little bit of feedback. If you're planning on putting this on the podcast platforms, I'm not sure how well Hello World of YouTube, your normal thing, is going to translate.
Oh, for sure. No, and that's where if I were to put this on other podcast platforms, it would be more of a hello everyone, welcome to.
You're working on that.
The AVA.
You got that. You got that. The freaking shout engine on in the works to distribute that onto the podcast platform of your choice. And this is just an exclusive for the wonderful subscribers over the past decade.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are all lovely people, and you support the weird vignettes I take my channel on.
Hey,
but this one,
world of YouTube, that's the OG world right there.
Yeah, it's the OG. It's the OG audience.
Never forget your world ones.
Yeah, your world ones.
Sorry, go ahead.
But no, you're good. As is customary on this show, we have two albums that fall under umbrella. We're going to talk about defending our own respective choices, giving them a leg to stand on. But before that, as I introduced last week, we're going to talk about the previous episode. And as of recording this, there aren't any comments on that video yet, but I probably won't be editing this until like Friday of next week when it's supposed to go up that weekend. So if there's any comments, I'm going to address them now. But in the meantime, I'm going to be passing the question off to my guest, which is Mark. Which New York-based 2000s rock band do you think had, or which album that they brought out rang true to you, influence and all? Turn on the bright lights, or is this it?
I'm gonna be straight up. Thankfully, this was an episode. I'm in very fortunate position of the previous episode being two albums that I've heard before. But unlike with the Nirvana Weezer one, I have not heard "Turn on the Bright Lights" in many years. And really, the only thing that's still stuck in my mind at this point is PDA from Rock Band 2. So I feel like I'm not the most impartial judge, but so I am very, very Strokes biased at this point. And I haven't even gotten to their new one yet. But even right now, I would be very much in that. But it's different vibes. Even though you have probably explained in that episode, the correlation between the two anyway.
When you ring more as like an energetic rock kind of guy anyway, you don't really you like broody sad boy stuff, but as far as like a lot of the stuff you're into, like Franz Ferdinand and stuff, and like dancier energetic rock, I feel like the Strokes more lie in your realm of preference anyway, and as far as especially influences go.
I mean, you're also talking to a pretty big come down machine defender, so I wouldn't even say that wholeheartedly, but like, I mean, I'm not even saying I have anything against Interpol. I do not. I just have
no, for sure. I wasn't saying that at all.
I'm not getting any other stuff the time of day. It's a little vibier. I guess you gotta be in the mood for it a little more, from what I remember.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Like, PDA is a moment of energy on Turn on the Bright Lights, but even that's like not as vibrant as like Last Night.
Right. Which I have actually, and out of the two albums, that's the one album that I have covered Is This It is the one album I've covered a song from in a cover band. I did guitar and vocals on on Last Night, and I've never felt like more of a rock star than in that very moment.
That's a great song, man. It's got a great
I
energy.
also tried putting the distortion in my voice during one rehearsal, and my throat was bad after that.
Yeah, I can see that. But
it wasn't like that. But
yeah, that was just me coughing up a loogie. No,
thanks for taking the fall for that, friendo.
Hey, no problem. I'm here to.
I have this pop filter here for a reason.
Yeah, I have a shoddy version of that on my mic, so you know. But yeah, I mean that's it, as was last week or last podcast. I didn't have that much jumping off points to talk on. I mostly addressed the Pinkerton thing, so I didn't know how this would fall, and I know that some guests I'll talk to won't have as much to say about the two records in question, but I always wanted to turn the question on to the guests to see if they had anything they personally wanted to add. But that's not why you're listening to this podcast, is it? No,
we can have a talk-a-two, but it's not going to be about that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about something we've talked about on the internet before.
Yes,
it's your favorite comedy guy, long-standing king of comedy and music, Weird Al Yankovic.
With an H at the end, obviously. I've been on Napster.
With it. Yeah, I know LimeWire. Yankovic is the man.
He did all the racist songs, right?
Yeah, he did all of the racist songs. Absolutely.
I hope you guys get that very inside fake Weird Al songs joke, or else that would sound very bad.
Watch his interview on Hot Ones. He does talk about it.
Okay,
so,
cool. We're just gonna play the entire thing right now. Hit it, Sean.
Right now. Yeah.
Show notes.
Shout out to Sean Evans.
I want that
man that will never. Yeah. But no, the question I proposed on the internet this week is, which album did Weird Al close out its respective decade better? Talking about Even Worse for the 80s or Running with Scissors for the 90s. And before we get into the talk, I know someone's going to say, well, he dropped the UHF soundtrack in 89. What about that? That doesn't fucking count. It's a soundtrack to a movie. A great movie. I love that movie.
And other stuff.
Yeah. But it's not a titular release ended at the tail end of a decade that I feel like would act as the last footnote of that decade. Because there were remnants of the 80s and the early 90s, and Weird Al touched on that on his Smells Like Nirvana album. Or was that the name of the album? Or was it just
Off
the
the
name
Deep
of
End. Off the Deep End.
Off the Deep End, yeah, that was the name of the album. But he addressed that sort of transition sonically as well. And that was why Running with Scissors, because I was looking at his other records that I looked at the record that closed out the 2010s, the one with White and Nerdy, Stranded on Linwood, but that came out in 2006. And Apocalypse came out in 2011, which felt like an off the deep end sort of scenario.
And on top of that, because there was 5 years between albums, Apocalypse was more or less his late 2000s parody album, because he was parodying like Party in the USA and You Belong With Me on that. Yeah, which I just feel like timing wise didn't hit the same as like Even Worse when it came out, or Running with Scissors when that came out. By that point, it had Whatever You Like, which he'd put out in 2008 on that EP. So you can understand why he doesn't really feel like, he said that he's probably not going to be doing albums anymore because like just timing wise, like there's no real need for it, and his format doesn't really call for that. He hasn't really followed through on the one-off singles thing though, but give him time. Yeah, he's too busy playing classical gas on his balcony. or playing classical music with his orchestra on that one tour. Yeah, I really wanted to go to that tour, man. I want to go to the Ill-Advised Vanity tour so bad. Yeah. With all the originals. He sang Jurassic Park in Japanese in one of the shows for the orchestra tour. And that just sounds fucking amazing. Like, I'm not going to question it. Come on. I'm not going to question it. Hey, if you haven't seen Weird Al live, do it. The dude's an amazing performer, and I've never talked about Weird Al music on the channel explicitly outside of the collaboration we did on Mark's channel back in the day.
So I felt like I needed to make something Weird Al based, especially when I wanted to bring Mark on. And I thought about something we can do, and this seemed like the best thing. But
something just for the record.
yeah, and so how this is going to work, because I haven't really established rules for those listening for a guest. I'm going to give Mark his chance to defend and talk about why Running with Scissors sits at that, does it better. I'll do the same for Even Worse, and then we'll kind of talk about our feelings on both, and that'll kind of bring it to a close. But with that established, Mark, why is Running with Scissors?
Okay.
Why do you think he does a better job at encapsulating the 90s on that project?
So I want to preface all of this by saying, our previous collab on this, for those that didn't see it, was that on my channel at the time called Spin It Reviews, we did Mandatory Fun back in the simpler times of 2014. And yeah. It was basically a track by track, because Weird Al is a tricky guy to like evaluate full albums as a statement from, because by nature they're a hodgepodge of just pop culture reflections put out there every couple years, and like I guess it's just all dependent on like how in the groove of things he is at a given time. Like some albums are definitely better than others, but it's weird. It's like talk about like, well, the artistic statement of Even Worse compared to the progressions of Alapalooza,
Yeah.
He came into his own. I guess you could say he came into his own on like in 3D and Dare to Be Stupid compared to the debut, but you get the idea. I just hit the mic there.
It's okay.
Have fun editing that out. But anyway, but that said, I did very much find myself, and full disclosure, I had not actually heard Even Worse in full until being assigned this challenge. But anyway, so because like there's like a couple little blind spots I'd had. I'd heard Fat, I heard Lasagna, and maybe a couple others. Yeah, a couple others. Fat and Lasagna mainly from the Food album. And I'll just say, and I'll say right, obviously, pretty much every Weird Al album is quality, just because the guy's always had this crazy brain and vocabulary, and he has a very singular mind in the world of popular anything, which some people have tried to recapture, and God bless them for it, I guess. Remember that
people just don't get parody music.
That weird time in the early 2010s on YouTube. Oof. I'm glad we're past that.
Everyone thought they were the next Weird Al. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
you can't recapture the same
but
thing.
But onto the actual arguments. So I'm gonna try to get a little closer to the mic. Now,
you're good.
To the casual who's just looking superficially at the singles, at the album covers, you would think Even Worse is the no-brainer to this question, because bad, Even Worse. He's doing a spot on, Michael Jackson impression on there.
Copying. Yeah.
And the main single from it is Fat. So, and the other one being Lasagna to La Bamba, it all seems very extremely 1988. But my argument specifically for being a decade closer is that when I was re-listening to both of these, I definitely got the feeling that Even Worse might be more representative of its decade musically. Like, it's got style parodies of, Oingo Boingo, of The Police, of
the
Beastie Boys, yeah. Whereas Running with Scissors, you could maybe say like, okay, it starts with an American Pie parody, and obviously it has like third wave ska parodies and Bare Naked Ladies and stuff. But so it's a little more all over the place in that regard. But thematically, as far as like cultural touchstones that he touches on in the writing, Running with Scissors easily has more of that. I got the track list pulled up here to remind me. It's got obviously even the American Pie parody. It's the prequels. You know,
Yeah,
before
it's a Star Wars parody. Yeah,
before the prequel even came out, and that's, for the record, as a plebeian to Star Wars, that's how I know literally anything about what happens in that movie, even though he wrote it before the movie even came out.
Which is insane.
Yeah. But see, like, even like the next song after that, My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder, like that. If you're gonna talk about cultural things that like wrap up an entire decade perfectly, freaking Pearl Jam. And it's not, and it's going past just doing a parody of Even Flow in 1992. Like, got deep into Pearl Jam ethos there. Like, fun fact, so I've been listening to a few Pearl Jam albums because of our boy Crash Thompson's How to Get Into video on them.
Yeah, shout out to Crash.
It got me to listen to Vitology and No Code. Actually, no, Yield. It was Yield.
Okay.
Vitology and Yield, both great. And along the way, I was like, hey, I should probably re-listen to that My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder song. And it hit, and I never realized it because I've been listening to Running with Scissors for a very long time, and it occurred to me, and it never hit me, that line in the bridge, well, I knew we were heading for a disaster when she caught me hanging out the Ticketmaster. Like, I just assumed that was a general thing for, oh no, she's seeing a Pearl Jam concert. She's into Eddie Vedder. Yeah. But it only hit me on this last time listening, like, oh, he was talking about the Ticketmaster shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so clever. Because as you know, no, I think that I initially interpreted it, I got the line mixed up, which when she caught me hanging out the Ticketmaster, because like, oh no, now she thinks that I'm also into Eddie Vedder, so he's like, he looks even hotter now, you know, but the joke was actually like, I'm betraying Pearl Jam's message, so I look so much stupider, you know. But anyway, so you got that, and then you got the next song, Pray Fly for a Rabbi, which subject matter wise maybe a little more timeless, but a definitively 1999 8 whatever song in Pray Fly for a White Guy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, down to Jerry Springer being another one of those super in the moment timely
super
things
of its time,
and maybe some lines and terminology that have not aged super well, but he meant well, you know.
Yeah.
And also one of his edgier songs, which gotta give credit to that, because you don't see him getting edgy a lot, I feel like.
Not that directly.
Exactly. No. It's a little more implicit most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, then let's see. Oh yeah, then you got It's All About the Pentiums, which is all about like turn of the millennium internet culture, which you would think would have aged terribly, but it's weirdly gotten cooler, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In recent times, and I guess as far as like lyrical subject matter, that's about it. I will say, I recently decided to cover Germs for a Instagram Live set because it just
Nice.
Felt of the times.
It's time. Yeah, that song, if anything, has become more topical and poignant now.
Yep, it's aged well for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
I'm just still looking here. Like, I think every song here hits. The closest thing to a filler would maybe be the Weird Al Show theme, but even then, that's nice to have on an album.
Yeah. It documents his continued prominence and success.
And if nothing else, that makes it even better of a time capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, I think that the most damning thing about and I feel like I do have weirdly enough more points, like, because, you know, it's all margins game at the end of the day between these two albums, but so I did think of a bullet point list of nitpicks for Even Worse as like the rebuttal for yours. We're going to get to that, but I'm going to say the cardinal sin of Even Worse is no polka medley. We can agree on that.
Yeah, I'm addressing that too. Yeah.
Thank you. And if you're going to have any kind of time capsule moment on a Weird Al album, that's it.
It's going to be the polka. Yeah.
Yeah. So that and of course ending, and this isn't even like a time capsule thing, but it just has to be said. If Albuquerque isn't in your top 5 Weird Al songs, you are wrong.
Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Full stop.
It is definitely up there for me as well. No, full stop. It's an incredible An incredible run of a song.
It is art. It is art.
Yeah, it is in the best way possible.
Yes. It's not even like totally laugh out loud at all times, but you just kind of have to marvel at it. Like in a totally unironic way.
He just keeps going. He just keeps going. Like when you think like, oh yeah, now the bill ending is gonna come. You're like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. He still has to lose his snorkel.
Yeah, and of course, leads into another argument about what a defining album this is, because of course this marked the debut of two things. One, his new look, but also the start of the giant song, of the giant epic.
Oh,
that would be followed up in Genius in France, to a lesser extent in Stop Forwarding This Crap to Me, and then of course in Jackson Park Express. Like this kickstarted
Trapped in the Drive-Thru.
Kickstarted something.
No, yeah, and that's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
Yeah, yeah, so I think that's about. I probably do have more points to give as far as this goes, but by the way, fun fact: I saw on Wikipedia. Did you know that initially he wanted to shoot a video for Jerry Springer that had Jerry Springer in it, and at first he was cool with it, but then Jerry actually heard the song and said no because it was too negative to the show.
So that's what is it with that, man? Because Eminem did the same thing with Couch Potato. Yeah. Just let Al have his fun, man.
And it wasn't even like he was like this new disruptor on the scene. You knew what you were getting.
He is, and I like that nowadays it's almost like a badge of honor when Weird Al parodies one of your songs, because like he is still one of the best songwriters in that regard. He can turn like, and I kind of not in a similar way, but like he, on even worse, he also does something similar of spinning a very insular song idea into something completely different without losing the spirit of the song.
Without question. And I do have,
I love that about him.
So I do have two other kind of, actually this is pretty relevant to as far as the original people's thoughts. I saw another Wikipedia fun fact, which was cited, where on the song "Grapefruit Diet," parody of "Zoot Suit Riot" by the Cherry Poppin' Dad. That was a band that had a hit. What the fuck was the late 90s?
Yeah. The 90s were a weird time.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, their main guy who wrote the song, Steve Perry, not that one, obviously. I do think it's funny that like when I showed on Wikipedia, his Wikipedia page is Steve Perry, because Steve Perry musician is already taken, so his page is Steve Perry Oregon musician. but that's not even the fun fact. So so it says on Grapefruit Diet, the song's writer Steve Perry called the opportunity to be parodied, an honor, but also noted that, quote, "Why Weird Al is such an icon is a mystery to me, though."
Is it a mystery though?
By 1999,
like he had two well-received parodies and an endorsement, which by the late 90s, his endorsement meant nothing to some people, but he had a full endorsement from Michael Jackson. He had
endorsement from Nirvana. That was his other big one.
Endorsement from Nirvana. Yeah, so like he had made his mark well before these one-hit wonder guys coming in here,
I mean, compare that to for your horoscope for today, his third wave ska send up. He literally got the horn section from Real Big Fish to play on it. Compare and contrast.
That's amazing.
In conclusion, we stand Real Big Fish.
Yeah, we do.
Make the next one. Make the next one. Turn the radio off versus whatever the hell Cherry Poppin' Daddy's album is.
Who are we?
Zoot Suit Riot and other hits.
Yeah, and other some such songs.
Oh God! If
and
Todd does the One Hit Wonderland on that, it's gonna be a weird one probably.
oh yeah, because I mean, I'm sure they had the weird. I mean, I already thought the one he just did,
Jimmy
on
Ray.
the one.
I'd never heard of
Yeah.
that song. Okay, sorry. Tangent. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
It's I nerd on old pop culture stuff. So when on the few occasions that he's done a song that I've never heard of on there, I immediately get fascinated. Like the last time was like the night Chicago died, and then it was like the Mummers Dance before that. But like I never heard of this. Are You Jimmy Ray? It sounds like in a parody biopic of a fictional musician that's like a pop star. That would be his hit song.
Well, and it's funny because like I didn't think I knew it either, but the minute the song started, I was like, I have heard this before. Why do I know this song? It was one of those, like, he described it perfectly where he was like, you don't think you know this song, but you probably do.
I didn't,
like,
but I was also born in 1996. The year is bad hair day. Feel old yet?
I'm 92 myself personally, but like it was just one of those songs that had to have been on the radio or something, but the chorus, that instrumentation, the chord progression, whatever it was, it like hit my brain, and it was like I took a warp drive back to being a child again in like the weirdest way, because I hadn't thought about that song until that episode.
And bringing it back, that would have been prime Weird Al fodder. I'm shocked he didn't do that.
He probably because he was too busy covering the rest of what the 90s had going on.
True.
But
so make your case for even worse.
Yeah. So yeah, to flip that, to flip the script onto even worse. Now, again, Mark said it to the surface, it looks like a smash, out of the park, and there is a lot more than just the Michael Jackson cover on here or La Bamba, both of which were great covers, and I think that it was smart for him to do another Michael Jackson parody, especially because it's an album without a polka, which is so upsetting. Because the last polka, the Polka Party Polka, is a great time capsule of 80s music, so it'd be cool to see. It would have been cool to see what he would have done.
You know what? I will say something in defense of that, though, which is totally counterintuitive. But if I had to make a guess, and I've never seen him confirm this, if I had to guess, Polka Party bombed hard, and that was also the only album of his where not only was there a polka medley, the album was named after the polka medley. So maybe, as like a course correction, he tried to distance himself as far as humanly possible from the concept of polka. That's my guess.
I mean, he brought it back on the UHF soundtrack, so like, but no, I was gonna say that even without a polka to kind of encapsulate a lot of other medleys of pop songs that were popular at the time, he does do a good job at covering, like you said, a variety of styles with their own twists in a way that I still feels like is as diverse as the different genre ideas he's toying with on Running with Scissors. He's doing the mall pop craze on I Think We're Alone Now,
right,
which has a great I Think I'm a Clone Now parody. He does La Bamba. He does the Billy Idol sort of raw punk style that was really big near the end of the decade, where punk was almost like a pastiche. He did the Police. He even did the Beastie Boys, who were like still new in 1988.
That was pre Paul's Boutique.
Yeah, he did a lot. He covered a lot of ground that was both forward-thinking in its own sense while also reflective on stuff that was very popular in their own facets. He even covered. He did the George Harrison.
Yeah.
This song is just 6 words long. Like I'd argue that even if. And like you said, it's got a lot more on its plate sonically. I'd honestly argue Running with Scissors has just as much, because like you said, it has the third wave ska, it has the industrial, it has the pop punk, it has, hip hop. I feel like
the swing revival.
the swing revival, I think this does just as much, even without the concept of a polka being introduced, and he also does a lot of the same things he was doing in the 80s that he's did in the 90s as well, but doing the darker songs like Good Old Days, The Closer, where he kind of rides through the mind of a killer.
Yeah, and of course, Melanie. Which
Melanie.
I do have to say, I did talk a little bit about how it's the one with Fat and Lasagna, but honestly, going through this, I think that a lot of the original like style parodies were the ones that resonate with me the most. Like You Make Me is gonna be, I think is gonna at some point end up an all-time favorite of mine.
Yeah, it's a great in the style of parody. Like it fits, and that's the other thing I like about it. The in the style parodies on this project are as faithful to the sound as you could be with a Police parody, an Oingo Boingo one.
And you know what? As much as I don't think Velvet Elvis, like subject matter wise, is one of the more interesting ones here, it's also like I feel like I just like it more as just a Police song than anything else. Like that's one of the most dead on, like on a pure like his band level. That is a high point of maybe their entire career, because like all the weird atmospheric switches and like groove switches and stuff. Like they did not just say like, okay, let's just do like Roxanne, but not, this.
Well, and that's
like that could have been. There are Police songs that are sillier than Velvet Elvis.
Oh yeah, and I will say, as much as I love the style counter argument to Running with Scissors, as much as I love his Weird Al parody, it is really just a menagerie of Terrible Lie and the ending of Closer.
Oh yeah, without question.
Yeah. And even though on the Wikipedia, the song Melanie doesn't have an attribution to its sound, it sonically sounds like a lot of the alternative scene that was burgeoning in the late 80s with bands like REM and stuff.
Oh, the guitar work is so Peter Buck.
Yeah, it doesn't say that it's explicitly tied to an artist, but it and Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White also sonically encapsulate a lot of what was going on in the late 80s, because Stuck in the Closet with Vanna White feels very, again, not postmodern, but very ironically jabbing at the direction that like glam rock went in.
Because especially as it got into like 1990, like it was a dark time.
Yeah, and I feel like Stuck in the Closet with Vanna White sonically encapsulates that style very well before it became immediately even more out of fashion to do.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
That's interesting because like I've considered that one. Like, sorry, do you have anything else on that point there?
No, that was it.
Okay. Because I feel like if we're gonna have a debate on two albums, as much as it's fun to gas both of them up, this ain't. I'm not sure if you've heard of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. Very good podcast, but we're critics. Damn it.
Yeah.
And I do have a few nitpicks about Even Worse that I'm wondering if you had any kind of rebuttal to. So, okay. I feel like the easy complaint to give to Weird Al, especially in the 80s, is that he basically just took a hit, switched a word in the title to something silly, and kind of built out a song from there. And sometimes it was like goofy and fun without necessarily being like the most funny or clever thing in the world. I'd probably put something like Lasagna in that realm, even though I enjoy it, or maybe or honestly, I would probably put like a Fat in there too. Like it's fun, and when you see him live, like I have, it's always a good time.
It's a good time,
but it's not like something where like you go back to it, and you pick up new jokes you haven't heard, but you didn't realize before. I feel like Running with Scissors has a lot more of those moments because he just became a sharper writer as time goes on.
I'd argue there's some
without
songs,
question.
Like Pretty Fly for a Rabbi, I feel like
Yeah, that's certainly one of those.
You get it.
But it's also like
Yeah.
more of like a niche thing where like that has like its own like quirk to it. I don't know. See, like, and obviously no Weird Al album is free of that criticism. That's like his whole.
For sure.
That's
for
his
sure.
whole model.
Yeah.
So I won't say in a super definitive way, but I felt the vibe a little bit more on this one versus a Running with Scissors, where it could get where it could like make a more of an edgy point or like say something a little more clever about society, man, or just like something like that. Whereas I look at a song like Stuck in a Closet. There's also, I feel like there's some songs here that he would have a similar idea, but just do it better later. Like Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White is probably my least favorite here, just because he's just like listing random stuff. I mean, this isn't going against your point about musically, but it's basically just listing random stuff he sees, which I feel like he would end up doing better on like an Everything You Know Is Wrong or a My Own Eyes, or even later on this album with You Make Me to an extent. And then also, it's funny, we were talking about the YouTube parodies that would come in the early 2010s, where the whole point of them, the Key of Awesome era, or the Bart Baker era, where the whole point of it was to just make fun of the original song as it was going on, which he's very much doing here on This Song's Just 6 Words Long, but I feel like he would be a lot more clever with on like just do more with on like an Achy Breaky song or a Smells Like Nirvana, or even a Perform This Way, for example. And the fact that two of the weaker ones, in my opinion, Stuck in a Closet and 6 Words Long, are number 2 and 3 on the track list, it doesn't make the sequencing great in comparison.
So I would say that This Song's Just 6 Words Long, I like the idea of, and I feel like it's more of akin to like a truck driving song, if I were to make a comparative argument.
Okay.
Or a Jerry Springer, where it's very Jerry Springer to a lesser degree, because Jerry Springer, he really hammers home a lot of the absurdity within that show.
Well, and also because it's a 1 week parody, there's just more words in it and more funny things being said.
But I feel like he was also jabbing at the song itself.
Right. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's what I like about The Song Is Just 6 Words Long more so over, because I do think Stuck in the Closet with Vanilla White is the weakest moment on the album. I think every Weird Al album has it. For me, Running with Scissors Truck Driving song is the weakest point for me. It comes in between It's All About the Penny M's and Grapefruit Diet, 2 really buoyant tracks, and that one's a little one note to me.
But also it is, see, again, going back to the sequencing, it's track like 10 out of 12, and it's like 2.5 minutes long, whereas Stuck in a Closet is like 5 minutes long and track,
it's like 5 minutes,
track 2. Without really being subversive at all, where at least truck driving song has that contrast of like, it's a trucker on the road on this like doo boo 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 kind of country style, but he's just talking about his high heels. Yeah.
But I think outside of, and again, to sorry, my brain just kind of died for a second. That would be my biggest sort of contingency against, or my argument against This Song Is Just 6 Words Long. It feels almost like not only a jab at the original, but also I think George Harrison to a degree. Because like by that point in his career, he was George Harrison, and the song is lazy, but I feel like that's the point.
Yeah,
and I feel like
and it's also sorry, good.
No, I feel like that's I feel like that's the most commentary the album really gets. Because he has his own story stuff like Melanie and Velvet Elvis. He has an ad for Twister.
Yeah, okay, and that's, I was waiting for the moment to say that, because Twister is another, like, on a style parody level, it's dead on, but it is a commercial. Like, it doesn't do anything to subvert Twister or make it into some twisted thing.
So is the Weird Al theme.
Yeah, but that is literally a theme song for his show.
I know. I know.
But point being, like, I guess it's like a minute-long interlude, but he could have put in, like, jokes. Beastie Boys songs
I
have
guess
more jokes than Twister does.
That's true, and it feels more like a just parody of the style. I would just argue that in this particular instance, both things up for discussion they both have their own forms of an ad of a mini song. One just happens to be a charming nod to his own television show that he got for a while.
Unless Milton Bradley put out a special Weird Al edition of Twister that was an actual commercial for. I mean, I get the analogy.
Right hand accordion.
But I mean, in all fairness, he did bust out the accordion on Lasagna, so I guess that's not nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
I do think it's funny.
My case for Even Worse stems from it's a similar beast to Running with Scissors, but while it doesn't have as much tapestry on the walls musicianship wise, there are different styles that he tackles. I still think it's very indicative of capping off the decade that was the 80s in many different aspects, whether it's the eccentric rock, the flashy rock, the pop, in many different aspects, or the burgeoning acts like the alternative scene and the hip-hop scene. I think it does a great job at showing where the decade had gone and where it could potentially be heading towards with some of the song ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And is Twister his first hip-hop song?
I'm gonna look at Polka Party because that would be the only other one that has.
Maybe. Unless he did like a Run DMC parody or something. No, he didn't.
He did not. Yeah, he didn't do that one.
Imagine if you parodied like White Lines or The Message.
Don't stop me because I'm next to this hedge.
See,
do it like a song about like gardeners.
I'm surprised that there wasn't a thing that for Over the Hedge. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh God.
I was a kid I was in the demographic for that, and I still remember nothing.
But yeah, I feel like that's you made some good points, Mark, and honestly, I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm gonna give full disclosure. Running with Scissors is my favorite Weird Al album. I love Even Worse a lot, and I feel like it does everything that I've said it does. But Running with Scissors is just that great. I agree with a lot of the points you made.
And I'm gonna say full disclosure. I did go through his albums on Rate Your Music, and I saw your scores for him, and I was like, oh, you have this scored a whole star lower. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah. I sit here and I try to play devil's advocate for I'm going to be trying to play devil's advocate for records that I may not like as much, and I feel like while Even Worse isn't necessarily his best album from the 80s. I like Dare to Be Stupid a lot more. I even like some aspects of Polka Party more than some of the aspects on here. Revisiting Even Worse, I actually would probably bump my score up a little bit from Rate Your Music because that rating is from like forever ago. But I think it's because I thought, whatever, he did a Tiffany parody, that, Moni Alimony, that seems a little easy, but I like revisiting it to do this. I actually really enjoy a lot of the ideas in some of these songs more. I feel like this is an album where the style parodies are much stronger than the direct parodies.
Without question.
But and that's where I think its biggest strengths lie.
This is a big Ill-Advised I imagine this album was big on the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour set list.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would not be surprised if he put Melanie on rotation.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a great one to just bang out with the band. you know,
Yeah.
or maybe or like you make me would rip live.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I agree. I agree with Mark. I think Running with Scissors is better. And as of right now on the Instagram, the polls, it is.
I wasn't gonna mention it.
There's one.
I wasn't gonna mention it.
Oh no, that's part of the podcast. We got to talk about the polls.
I saw it. I voted in it, and I saw the results.
Yeah,
oof.
There's two technically, but one of the people that voted for Even Worse meant to vote for Running with Scissors. They told me they meant to. You guys agree? You guys seem to agree that Running with Scissors is hands down Weird Al's like the better of the two, and I mean, he does so much on Running with Scissors. Like again, I got love for Even Worse because I love Fat. I love the song is just 6 words long, but man, Saga Begins through Albuquerque. That record is
there is barely there's not a moment that just makes me go, okay, here we go. There's just okay, he's doing the Weird Al thing. Cool, you know, and maybe it's because I have a little more attachment from listening to it for a lot of years, but like every moment on that just has its things that just freaking hit. It's like because there's a few moments on every Weird Al album. You know, we've talked about like Melanie being kind of having that extra bite to it. Same thing for like a Good Old Days, or like a You Make Me. I feel like that's nearly every song on Running with Scissors that just goes that extra mile to be more than just like, Madonna said, when's Weird Al gonna make Like a Surgeon? And he was like, okay, here's Like a Virgin, but about doctors, which great parody in its own right. But you're saying like the formula is a little less obvious on Running with Scissors.
Yeah, well, like turning American Pie into an ode to Darth Vader is fucking magical.
It has a way of like, because like there's less like changing one word in the title. Obviously, you have like Pretty Fly for a Rabbi and the Grapefruit Diet, but like there's a lot less of like there's a lot more titles that don't immediately give away what it's a parody of. Like so the Saga Begins for American Pie, or like
it's all about the Pentiums as well.
I mean, or also making 1 week about Jerry Springer. Like it has
that's
a lot
amazing.
more of those ideas that are like, how did you think of that? Yeah. Whereas you can see the thought process is a lot more obvious to conceive of with some of the earlier albums,
or at least Even Worse. Yeah. It's some of the
for
songs,
better or worse. Sometimes
like,
it totally works out in a lot of cases. In most cases,
yeah, Lasagna's great. Yeah. But yeah, we can all. Yeah. I wanted to talk about Weird Al, and I wanted to give Even Worse a chance to shine in the spotlight. But it is hard to top Running with Scissors. It's top. It's probably my favorite. Like I said, it's my favorite Weird Al record, and it's a dope ass project.
Yeah. I have two more random things. One, when I was re-listening to your horoscope for today, when it got to Scorpio, work harder on improving your low self-esteem, you stupid freak. That's hitting different right now, and I did not appreciate that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, some of the songs, they have like a lot more longevity because their subject matter continues to revolve in the public eye. Like your horoscope for today, astrology is still
all the girls on
huge.
Twitter. All the girls on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's their anthem.
Germs. You were talking about that earlier. Yeah. But also
in these trying times.
In these trying times, wash your hands. The Saga Begins. Star Wars is still bigger than ever, for better or for worse.
Yeah, and like people are still paying alimony. I don't know. There's probably way better cloning technology now.
I like lasagna.
Okay, Garfield.
Yeah, Vanna White is, I think, the biggest piece of pop culture that's stuck through.
Which is saying a lot because like she's still like doing it, but like
she is. That's incredible. She's turning them letters.
But I will say the even though alimony doesn't really go that extra step beyond like its elevator pitch of like my ex is bleeding me dry, like the one thing I really appreciate about alimony is that because it's parodying the live version that became a hit for Billy Idol, it's you're picturing this thing where in a giant stadium of people, this guy is just screaming to a stadium of screaming fans about alimony payments. It's more a subtext thing than anything else.
Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was intentional, but also a fun fact that I learned is that this is technically the only album of his where he technically parodies 2 songs by the same artist, because I Think I'm Alone. I think We're Alone Now and Moni Moni were both Tommy James songs before they got covered.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, I think We're Alone Now. What Tiffany that was a cover of a Tommy James song from the '60s, and same goes for Moni Moni. So, Tommy James made a good amount of money in 1988, and good for him.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
Yeah. I also Straight Out Linwood is his best. Don't at me.
Hey, that's a point of discussion for another day. But yeah, that was really all I had to for the point of discussion.
Yeah.
You guys again seeming to agree with me on and Mark on Running with Scissors being his best, but I appreciate the vote for Even Worse that it was given.
Yeah, and you made a solid case for the devil's advocate thing. If we didn't just peel back the curtain with the Rate Your Music thing, we wouldn't have known.
I mean, no. Surely. It's hard. I mean, like I said, it's hard to top that record. But before we wrap this up, Mark, do you have any closing regards you want to make? Do you have anything you want to throw out there? Any promotions you want to do?
Sure. I've been bad on the content front lately. I've been trying to fix that. Just been in a weird creative hibernation state lately. I've been trying to maybe make another video at some point as a bookend to the channel, to the Mad Sounds, formerly Spinner Reviews channel. Maybe start another podcast. But the main thing I'm doing right now is the music's Fully Involved. Fully Involved, made famous on One Listening Log for the review of participation trophies that I appreciated. You can actually see my reaction to his listening log review in one video that I put on the Fully Involved YouTube channel. I'd say the
card for that is on screen.
The main places to go to. Oh, good idea. The main places I'd go to are on Bandcamp, fullyinvolvedmusic.bandcamp.com. I got a number of EPs, including one that Johnny didn't feel comfortable reviewing because he helped with some of the mixing on it. Insolence. Participation trophies, the one from last year. I'm still working pretty hard on the next record. It's been put on hold a bit because of reasons.
The world.
It's gonna hopefully combine the best elements of the last couple EPs for sure.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. It's got some of the harder, fun stuff, but it's also got some of the sad boy subject matter. It's a nice blend.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to approach.
So if you like music about diabetes and approach anxiety when it comes to flirting, either or, not necessarily in that order. Sample around, see if there's something you like. I'm very unfocused as far as the Fully Involved style goes. Go there. Fully Involved Mark on Instagram, I think, is the place I'm kind of taking a Twitter and Instagram break right now for other in these trying times reasons, just for mental health reasons. But I'll probably get back on the grid at some point to promote this.
Well, and on your Instagram. You're making a good Discogs hustle.
Yes.
If you guys are wanting some tunes, if you're wanting some albums to buy, some CDs, vinyl, shit like that, check out his Instagram. He has everything he has for sale on there.
Yep.
In a nice little highlight for you to check out.
Yeah. In fact, we were able to get a little just earlier today. He was telling me that so back in the heyday of Mad Sounds 2017, we talked about a Soul Coughing album. That he was big into and I was not. Oh man,
it happens.
And I kept a copy of that since then, and he bought it from me from that very store, and he told me he just got it today. So if you want more fun stuff like that. I'm trying to sell as many of these things as I can before I move next month. That would be great.
So pop on his Discord, see what he's got.
Well,
He's got a lot of stuff. Some
Discord. I don't have a
Discord.
I have a
Discogs.
Discord account. That's what we're talking through.
Yeah, he is. We're talking about Discogs.
Have conversations with me on the Crash Thompson server.
Yeah, if you're jumping in on there, he's hopping in with some discussion on.
That's
things.
the only social media that I'm like on all day, every day right now.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I guess on Discogs the username is Spin It Reviews with 2 S's at the end because I couldn't change it after the rebrand.
Yeah. Well, and I'll put all of his socials and the Discogs and all that sort of stuff in the description.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a spin. Give his music a spin. Give what he's selling a gander.
If you're missing out on the record store feel, and you want to help a not employed boy out,
give him a buy. Give him a little purchase.
And most of it's under $5.
Yeah, which is really reasonable, especially for some of the stuff you've got up for there. Right. But
okay.
with that said, we are going to call it a close here today on this episode of AVA. Which album do you enjoy more? Do you have any talking points about Running with Scissors or even worse that we didn't get to? Leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to address them in the next episode. But I have been Viral Rack. If you did like this podcast, give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdery content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons. Mark is one of those patrons. If you hop on there, you get early access to content, exclusive content, and you help drive the community.
Hell yeah.
As of recording this, the day we're recording this, I'm putting up 2 polls on there. And they'll have other stuff that's on there since this posts. Exclusive stuff, so you're missing out on some good fun. But like I said up front, I've been Varak. He has been Mark of Fully Involved. You guys have good days, life situations. I'll see you another day. Bye.